Close our eyes. Okay. Dear Lord Jesus, we thank you for this evening. We just pray that with you, Mrs. Brown, as she tells the story, help everyone to listen real well, be able to answer questions. And Lord, we just ask you this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. So then I get somebody to hold it? I'll let you come up. You'll get to take turns.
It was a boy last time, it was me. Yeah, it was a boy last time. I never got to do it in my
Sorry. Okay. Chapter 2. Do you guys remember what happened last week?
Yes.
Who can tell me?
Oh, I do.
What happened? Go back. Was he sad? Was he sad when his grandma and grandpa went back? His grandpa told him something, didn't he? Secret, yeah. Okay, here we go. Put on your listening ears, because remember we have gifts out there. All week long, after his grandparents returned to Israel, Nathan was thoughtful. Often he sat alone thinking. His parents thought it was because the boy missed his grandfather. It was this, partly, but how surprised they would have been if they had known the real reason. During the year of grandfather's visit, he and Nathan had become good friends. Nathan loved his grandmother dearly, but she was a woman. She did not know all the things his grandfather knew, things which he thought every Jewish boy should know. More than once, grandfather said, "Nathan, you must learn to think. Think for yourself. Do not believe everything you hear. Real Jews think," he said. Grandfather had told how real Jews long ago reasoned there would be a war in 1914. As order had been given to paint every house in his little village in Eastern Europe, this was all. But at once Jews started setting up more stores to sell food and clothing. Nathan remembered how grandfather paused to ask, "Are you wondering why they should start stores just because they were ordered to paint their house?" Nathan had nodded his head to answer, "Yeah, why?" "Because they were using their brains, boy. They were thinking. Why should we have to paint our houses in this little village? It must be because a government official is coming to visit." "And why should a government official be coming to visit?" "It must be because they expect war and will bring soldiers to be trained near our village. And if soldiers are brought to the village, soldiers will buy, and so they opened more stores." Grandfather declared that the Jews in 1914 were right in the way they thought through things. World War I began in Europe that very year. Okay, let's have a girl. Turn the page. Yep. Page 5. So Nathan was quiet and thoughtful much of the time. Something was bothering him. Was his grandfather right? Would the Messiah come to Jerusalem and rule the world? Or was it possible Messiah had already come? Somewhere, sometime, someone said this. Where has he heard it? Who had said that? Suddenly Nathan remembered. He had been going home from school a different way than usual. Walking along the street, he noticed boys and girls running towards a house which had a sign out front. Okay, time to turn it. Well, boy. Page 6. Nicole.
Is that page 6? I think it's all the other.
No, it's the other one. The sign said, "Happy Day Club today." He lingered when some of the boys yelled, "Hey, come on in. Come join the club. It's great. You'll like it." But Nathan refused to go in. Still, he hung around. When all the children seemed to be inside, Nathan listened at an open window, careful out of sight so they didn't see him. Nathan remembered exactly where the house was. He had not passed that way again, but he knew he could find it. It was there he heard the teacher telling the children that someone had come from heaven. "He is the Jews' Messiah," she said. the anointed one sent from God. But the Jews would not believe him, nor would they receive him. She is teaching those kids to hate the Jews, he said. Nathan was upset about that as he turned away and ran for home. Yes, that was where he heard that the Messiah had already come. Strange he had not forgotten this. It had happened long ago. Could the teacher have been telling the truth? He would think about it some more. Perhaps he would walk home from school and look for that sign again. Think, boy, think, Grandpa said in his mind. All right, he would think. And so it was that Nathan began walking home from school on the street where he had seen the sign. But though he walked that way every day for almost a week, he didn't see a sign. Nathan wondered if he was on the wrong street. Then it was Friday, and there it was, the sign. Nathan's heart beat faster and faster, even though he slowed his steps. This was it. Maybe he would hear more about the Messiah. This time when boys yelled at him, come on in, you like it. Nathan did go inside. He saw one boy who was a Jew, and he was there, so it must be okay. The teacher was quick to welcome Nathan. She was lovely, had dark eyes and hair. She looked just like his mother, Nathan thought. She's beautiful. Okay, let's have a boy. Or sorry, girl.
You call him a girl.
Okay, got it. Page 7.
Never ever boom for Casey. I've never ever Jesus.
So the children listened intently at what the woman was saying from the Bible.
Keep listening, guys.
The lesson was about Moses and his brother Aaron. When the teacher asked, who can tell me where the lesson is written, Nathan was the first to raise his hand. He goes, the Torah. And all the kids laughed. They said, the Torah? And the teacher said, Nathan's right. The Torah is from the first 5 books in our Old Testament. Nathan and all the Jewish people have been taught to call these 5 books the Torah. I'm sure Nathan is a real Jew because he has been studying the Torah. Then she continued, you see, boys and girls, being born a Jew does not make you a real Jew, just as being born a Gentile does not make one a Christian. I've explained this to you before. That surprised Nathan. He thought, how can that be, a person who is not a Jew and a Gentile? Often his parents and grandparents told him to be a real Jew. This meant studying the Tanakh, the entire Old Testament, being careful to keep the commandments and always doing good. When the class ended, the teacher asked Nathan if he'd like to stay for a little bit and talk to her. I think we can. Because she was kind and seemed to be really interested in him, Nathan decided to stay. When they were alone, the teacher asked, something is troubling you, Nathan. Would you like to talk about it? Nathan found himself telling her about grandfather's return to Israel. He told her that his grandfather wanted to be there when Messiah comes, for it would be in Jerusalem that he would go. Yes, this is correct, Nathan. But Nathan stammered, I heard you say the Messiah has already come. You see, I listened outside the club one day a long time ago. Okay, now we have a boy. Okay. This one right here. The teacher smiled. Nathan, both are true. The Messiah did come to earth 2,000 years ago. How many years?
2,000.
As a baby, he lived the perfect life. Then one day he died on the cross, died taking the punishment for every sinner. Because he is the Son of God, he arose from the dead. Later he went back to heaven where he lives today. Where does he live?
In heaven.
Well, he will be coming back to earth again. He will not die on the cross then, but he will reign as king. Nathan's eyes narrowed. He did not like to hear about the Messiah dying on the cross. This was not the way his grandfather spoke of Messiah. How do you know all this, he asked. And how do you know about the Torah? You speak as if you were a Jew yourself. I am Nathan. You are? And you talk like a Christian. Nathan, I am both a Jew and a Christian. Want me to tell you about it? No, thank you, Nathan exclaimed. This is Friday and the Sabbath begins at sundown. When?
Sundown.
I must hurry and get ready, because they always had to do a lot of stuff to get ready for that. Nathan did not want to disrespect, but he had to keep his anger inside, because he was angry. A Jew turned Christian, huh, he said carefully. Yet all the way home, and for weeks afterward, Nathan kept remembering what he had heard at Happy Day Club, especially those things with that lovely, dark-eyed woman told him. Okay, so, question. What did Nathan finally remember?